65,000 years ago, a group of humans stood on a beach in what is now Indonesia. In front of them, 90 kilometers of open ocean. Behind them, everything they had ever known. They had no compass, no map, no metal, no written language. They were tens of thousands of years away from inventing any of those things. And they got on a raft and crossed the ocean anyway. What happened on that raft? Over 4 to 7 days at sea, out of sight of land, with no way of knowing if anything was on the other side, is the most extraordinary journey in human history. Almost no one knows it happened. To understand what they did, you need to understand the world they lived in. It was the Ice Age. Sea levels were 60 to 80 meters lower than today. Most of Southeast Asia was one massive landmass. Scientists call it Sunda. Australia, New Guinea, and Tasmania were also joined. Scientists call it Sahul, and between them, the sea. Here is the thing that stops everyone cold. Even at those dramatically lower sea levels, there was never a land bridge between Sunda and Sahul. Never. The water was always too deep. If you wanted to get to Australia, you had to cross open ocean, 90 kilometers of it, at minimum. And 65,000 years ago, someone did. If you stood on the eastern shore of Sunda and looked toward Australia, you would see nothing. Not a smudge on the horizon, not a mountain, not a cloud, nothing. The ocean currents ran east to west, meaning a raft that drifted would be carried away from Australia, not toward it. You couldn't accidentally end up there. You couldn't fall asleep on a log and wake up on the other side. To reach Sahul, you had to paddle hard for days on purpose. Geneticists have calculated that the founding population of Australia had to be at least several hundred individuals. A single family doesn't found a continent. Multiple groups made this crossing, all of them deliberate, all of them staring at the same empty horizon and going anyway. So, what did they use? The vessel is gone. Wood rots, bamboo rots. The oldest surviving boat anywhere in the world is 8,000 years old. This crossing happened 57,000 years before that. But bamboo, giant tropical bamboo, which grows everywhere in Southeast Asia, is one of the most buoyant materials on Earth. Dozens of sealed bamboo poles lashed together would create a platform stable enough to hold people and supplies. Researchers who actually built and sailed bamboo rafts across this stretch of ocean concluded it was feasible, difficult, dangerous, but feasible. The crossing would take 4 days minimum, more likely seven. No shelter from the sun, fresh water, only what they brought, whatever they couldn't carry, the ocean decided. 65,000 years ago, before writing, before metal, before agriculture, someone built a vessel capable of crossing an ocean. But here is what truly astonishes me: they navigated it. No compass, no map, no instruments. What they had was knowledge. The stars rise and set in predictable arcs. The night sky is a navigation system if you know how to read it. Ocean swells travel in consistent directions across entire ocean basins. A skilled navigator can feel the direction by lying flat on the deck. Seabirds fly out from land at dawn and return at dusk. Follow the birds at evening, and you find land even when land is invisible. These techniques are not guesswork. Polynesian navigators used the exact same methods to cross the Pacific thousands of years later, and modern researchers have validated every one of them. The people on that raft 65,000 years ago knew the sky, they knew the ocean, they knew the birds, they knew which way to go. Here is the thing I cannot stop thinking about. Australia is not visible from the eastern shore of Sunda, not on a clear day, not from the highest tree. At 90 kilometers, it is below the horizon, physically invisible. These people did not watch land approach. They pushed off the shore and entered open ocean, heading toward a destination that, as far as their eyes could tell them, did not exist. They watched the coast of Sonda grow smaller behind them, and then it disappeared, and there was nothing. Ocean in every direction. They kept paddling. Maybe they had seen a column of smoke on the horizon weeks before. Maybe they followed the memory of birds flying east at dusk. Maybe someone carried a story passed down through generations. Land beyond the water. Go east. Keep going. Maybe someone just believed. Whatever it was, it kept them paddling through the second day, the third, through the moment when the raft creaked in the dark and the child started crying and didn't stop for hours. They kept going. Day one at sea. 4-meter swells lifting and dropping the raft in slow surges. The bamboo holds. People are sick. The deep ocean does not move like rivers. Day two, Sunday. No shade. They are rationing water, and no one is saying it out loud. Day three. A bird flies east at dusk. One bird. The navigator watches until it disappears, changes heading slightly. Night three. A squall, rain. Everyone grips the lashings. They lose a supply bundle. The rain is also water. They collect what they can. Day four. Something different about the horizon. A quality of light. The navigator adjusts course. Day five. A smell. Not ocean. Something green and alive. And then the birds. Not one. Dozens. Flying east. The navigator says nothing, but the paddling changes. Day six. Land. A dark line on the horizon that doesn't move, like clouds move. It stays. It grows. Someone at the back of the raft makes a sound. Not a word. Something older than words. And it passes from person to person down the raft until everyone is making it. They can see land. They landed somewhere on the northern coast of what is now Australia. We don't know exactly where. The landing sites are underwater. Sea levels rose after the ice age and swallowed the beaches. The physical evidence of that first landing is on the ocean floor, but we know they arrived because of what they left behind. Majid Bebe, a sandstone rock shelter in Arnhem Land, Northern Territory. In 2017, archaeologists found more than 10,000 artifacts in the deepest occupation layer. Stone tools, grinding stones, the world's oldest polished axe heads, ochre, hearths, dated to 65,000 years ago. People were here, cooking, making tools, building lives. People who had crossed 90 kilometers of open ocean to get here. The site is protected by the Mir people, whose ancestors have lived in that place in continuous cultural connection for longer than any other civilization on Earth. 65,000 years, unbroken. Here is what I want you to understand. They were not explorers. They had no mission, no funding, no return trip planned. They were just people who understood that the birds flying east at dusk were going somewhere, that somewhere was land, that land meant survival, and one person made a decision. We go. Every ship that has ever sailed traces back to that moment. Every compass, every chart, every satellite tracking your phone right now, every human who ever pointed themselves at an unknown horizon. It all starts with a bamboo raft and a navigator who read the stars and said, East, that way, we go. 65,000 years ago, they did the most courageous thing our species has ever done. They couldn't see where they were going. They went anyway. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.